When did transporting exam papers become a national defense operation? Think about it. When did the Indian Air Force turn into India's most expensive courier service? As unfortunate as it sounds, this is what it has come down to. Viewers, the proposal of the government to rope in the Indian Air Force to transport NEET question papers is as bizarre and baffling as things can be. This is not some innovative idea or a bold decision. This is not. This is a complete and utter admission of failure that proves that the exam system has collapsed. This is the government's abject surrender to the paper leak mafia. That is what it is. The heart of the problem was never transportation, viewers. The leaks did not happen on the road or on railway tracks. The leaks happened inside the NTA. It happened and happens among the people who set the questions, who print the papers, who store them, and who are supposed to protect their secrecy. People who are entrusted as experts. A fighter jet or a military aircraft can make the delivery faster, but viewers, it cannot stop a corrupt official or the system from selling the paper days before it even leaves the strong room. Speeding up the journey does not cure the disease. So why drag the proud Indian Air Force into a mess that should be handled by the civilian agencies? Viewers, the police could have been tasked with tight security. Paramilitary forces, as you know, which already guard the airports and other installations every single day, could have been used. Even private secure logistics companies with, proper oversight would have been better. But instead, the government wants the most visible, most expensive and most unnecessary option. Warplanes for answer sheets or question paper in this case. Viewers, this is wrong diagnosis and even worse, medicine. It is a public surrender to decades of incompetence and negligence. And let's be honest, viewers, if you are clapping for this, and those who are clapping for this decision, thinking it will make the exams foolproof, etc., etc., then let's apply the same logic everywhere. Let the Navy be called in to clean the Yamuna. Let the Border Roads Organization do what the PWD department does. Let them fill the potholes in the cities. Let the BSF stand guard outside every housing society. Let the Indian Army patrol our streets and manage traffic. Why not? After all civilian systems, if you can't trust the civilian systems with something as basic as exam papers, why should we trust them with anything else in daily lives? Viewers, covering the system with a military uniform to look strong is not going to help. This is even bad optics. Military planes carrying exam papers will only remind our students and their parents how deeply broken our system has become. We must act with common sense, viewers. We should not stop sending what we regularly do and now start sending jets to hide our failures. It doesn't work like this. So without any delay, let me open this up. Sanju Verma is the national spokesperson of the Bharatiya Janata Party. Faizan Kidwai, the national spokesperson of the Samajwadi Party. Dr. Piyush Joshi, spokesperson of the Aam Aadmi Party. Krishant is the national spokesperson of the BRS. Tehseen Poonawala and Karan Verma completes the panel. Sanju Verma, why bring in the IAF for all this? What is the police for?
Pranesh, let me make one thing very clear. Yes, it is not just a technical glitch. We've seen blurry mark sheets. We've seen mark sheets getting mixed up in the CBSE results. We've seen earlier that, there was the NEET UG examination, which was compromised, and now there will be a re-examination on the 21st of June. After seeing what has transpired in the last couple of weeks, if the government deems it necessary to ensure that there is transparency, there is a fair re-evaluation, and the government feels that you need to present the Air Force or other paramilitary services into play, I don't think there is any reason for the opposition to cry foul.
Please, no, Sanju Verma, we will get to the opposition in just a bit. But can you please explain to me that has the government run out of options? Why bring in the Indian Air Force to ferry the question paper, ma'am? What will it, what are we going to, task the IAF next?
Pranesh, let me get one thing very clear to your audience, because they are the biggest stakeholders in your debates. Just because the government is saying we'll press the Air Force into service to ferry question papers, that does not mean that nothing was done all this while. Please understand, and I have full sympathies for Vedant Srivastava and anyone who calls him a Pakistani. I completely condemn that. I'm glad he turned out to be a whistleblower of sorts. Having said that, let's get one thing very clear. It is the Modi government which has finally decided that the NEET examination from 2027 will not be in OMR-based
No, 1 minute. Sanju Verma, answer my question. We'll get to what the Modi government has done, but let me tell you, it is the Modi government that is presiding over the NEET mess. Not the first time. So, let's go step by step. Can you tell me what is the justification to get in the IF?
No, my simple question to your question without being offensive is, if the opposition and the government on this particular issue believe that our students and their future cannot be compromised, cannot be marginalized, let's do whatever it takes. Then what is the big brouhaha if the government indeed wants to press the Navy or the Air Force into
Now let me, I knew, such a response would come. Now, Sanju Verma ji, answer this question. If you believe the system is broken and that you have to resort to bringing in the IAF, why not have a lieutenant general? Why have the minister? Remove the minister, get in a lieutenant general, get the CDS to preside over the NTA. Why have the minister or why have any minister? Let the army run the country.
Pranesh, I'm not going to say I knew, Pranesh, you would ask this question. I'm glad you're asking me the toughest questions. I will just say this. For the first time after 34 years, in 2020, we had a new education policy. The last time we had a comprehensive education policy was in 1986. Yes, there have been more than a few glitches. 1 minute. You asked me a question, let me respond. We have said next year it will be a CBT format to do away with malpractices which are more endemic to a
No, Sanju Verma, this is not about the format. When you brought in the new education policy, I was the loudest person in the room saying that this is the need of the hour. But here the problem is not the education policy. I am questioning this brainwave. Who came up with this idea to entrust the IF?
Just going to stick to this, that be it transparency, be it accountability, the Modi government has never shied away from, asking various stakeholders to give their suggestions. And I'm sure that on the 21st of June, the re-evaluation or the re-examination of the NEET UG will be smooth, seamless, which is what our youngsters deserve. And I can also guarantee you one more thing, that the 2026 rollout of the online screen marking OSM system in the CBSE exams may have had glitches, but going forward, this will set a precedent in terms of ensuring fairness.
Now, Sanju Verma, listen to this. I am going to give you 3 names. I know you are familiar with the names. P.V. Kulkarni, Professor P.V. Kulkarni, NTA Insider, Manisha Havaldar, appointed by the NTA as an expert, Manisha Mandhare, appointed as an expert by NEET UG. The problem is with the NTA. How is the courier service going to help?
Said this in a couple of other debates on other channels, and I'll say this on your show today, despite being the national spokesperson of BJP, that I'm sure, given the brouhaha and for good reason, the Modi government, amidst other reforms that have been brought in, will also ensure a systemic overhaul of the NTA by ensuring that it does not function as a semi-autonomous body, but have greater accountability under the aegis of a Parliament Act. And let me also tell you one more thing. This is the only government which has actually started putting in practice the K. Radhakrishnan Committee recommendations. So I think that's a good start.
No, it's a
I'm
great
not
start,
saying that
ma'am.
is enough,
I don't
but
think
that's a good
Mr.
start.
I don't think Mr. Radhakrishnan in his report said anything about using the IAF.
No, so Mr. Radhakrishnan has made various suggestions, including enhanced CCTV surveillance, including a CBT format, including systemic overhaul of NTA. We have adopted all those and are adopting most of the 100 suggestions that he's
Very
made.
good.
Please don't
Very
link
good
this
if
to
you've done that,
IAF.
Sanju Verma. Every time I have problem with two things. One, the word brouhaha. 3-4 बार बोल दिया आपने brouhaha. ये brouhaha नहीं है. If you get the IAF to do this, you know what happens to the postal department, other courier services, ma'am. And if you're talking about, I heard 1 minute. I heard the minister talking and, citing the future of the students, etc., etc. By that logic, every life in this country is precious. Then let's have the military do all the duties that the other agencies are not doing. People die because of bad roads. Let's get the BRO to make roads now. Let's have the army as, traffic havaldars.
Pranesh, when I use the term brouhaha, I particularly and specifically did it with response to the opposition. Because I have admitted on your debate that yes, the system needs an overhaul. But at the same time, I will not allow Rahul Gandhi to politicize this.
No, 1 minute. You don't have to allow a Rahul Gandhi. If you want the system overhaul, who sits at the top of the system, ma'am? The minister. Let's get a lieutenant general in place of the minister. Can we start by doing that?
I will answer that question now very clearly. Because my style is not to shove the uncomfortable truths under the carpet. People have been howling, let Dharmendra Pradhan resign. My pointed response is this. Whether Dharmendra Pradhan resigns or not, or whether Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who's the head of the cabinet under Article 75 of the Indian Constitution, decides what Dharmendra Pradhan should or should not do, is the prerogative of Narendra Modi, not of Rahul Gandhi or Sonia Gandhi, who have politicized this issue.
Sanju Verma, this is not about, politics. I'm only asking you for parity. If you are getting the Indian Air Force to get the, to transport the question paper, let's talk about the system. Why have these ordinary people, NTA, DG, etc., etc. The last person who was the head of the NTA is now some chief secretary or some secretary in Chhattisgarh. So nothing has happened to these people who are presiding over the mess. If you can get the IAF, and I just want consistency. If you can, commit to me that let the IAF transport question paper, I want you to say in the same breath that army will now run the NTA. CDS will run over, will take over the education ministry.
I'll say one thing very clearly to you. There is a clear division and delineation of powers between the executive, legislature and judiciary. The education ministry is doing what needs to be done. Is a systemic overhaul necessary? Yes. Will the education minister resign? That is the prerogative of the prime minister. Is the opposition politicizing the issue? Yes. And before ending my lengthy monologue, let me just say one thing to you. Since this is a political debate, I have already addressed the systemic issues by saying, yes, we need to have heads rolling. But Ashok Gehlot ke tehet 24 paper leaks happened. What did Rahul Gandhi do then? Did he even criticize Ashok Gehlot? Forget taking action against him or asking him to resign? No. Vaibhav Gehlot was involved in the recruitment board scam.
No, 1 minute. But Sanju Verma, by this logic that the Congress did not do anything about the mess, Congress never used the IAF to transport the paper. So let's not get into this whataboutery. It is not going to help. If you are really sincere about, and I'm talking about the system, if the government is really sincere about accountability and fixing the system, then this is not the right approach. हवाई बातें हैं ये. Air Force अब transport करेगी question paper.
लागू करने की ठान ली है. Tell me one thing. In the last 77, 78 odd years, have you ever seen that the OMR format is now being junked in favor of the CBT format? No. Have you ever seen that there is a rollout in CBSE exams of the OSM format? No. Manisha Vagmare,
Ma'am, if there are if there are good things, why should anyone have a problem with the good things? But if there are things which are not right, then you must fix that. Karan?
So at the outset, Pranesh, it's absolutely ridiculous that the Air Force has to be called in for this. I mean, the last time the army was used was for the Bengal elections, and there it worked because there was a security issue and the threat was a violent Mamta regime. But what's the threat here? The threat here is the failed NTA, the failed National Testing Agency. That is what the threat here is. And, you know, with due respect to Sanju ji, she's generally very accurate on facts. She's accurate on one fact here. As far as the Radha Krishna committee is concerned, she's absolutely right that they've implemented the CCTV and the biometric measures, but they have not implemented largely the measures recommended by Radha Krishna ji. And I want to point that out. He had put his foot down that it should now be transitioned into CBT. What is this? We are transitioning. It's been 2 years since the last paper leak. Why have we not already transitioned? That's number one. Secondly, what he said was, he said that an encrypted digital delivery is essential. Had there been an encrypted digital delivery, we would have not needed the... So it's a disaster that it has not been implemented over the last 2 years. The third thing that Radhakrishnan ji mentioned was SAR-based biometric being implemented or police escorting. If you call that a systematic overhaul of NTA, I am...
Dharmendra Pradhan ji is not the education minister of this country because he has some visionary ideas with regards to it. And Dharmendra Pradhan ji's arguments or the arguments that the BJP spokesperson made were the same arguments on yesterday have studied abroad. Their lives don't get ruined. Now let's come to what happened with the points that Karan took off it. One of the recommendations of the committee was that NTA should not be under the Societies Registration Act, but a statutory body with powers. That was not given. The NTA chief in 2024 was not prosecuted, nothing happened to him. He's now got a plum posting. I'll come to you a week from now on Times Now. Nothing will happen to Dharmendra Pradhan ji or the current NTA chief. The most important question that nobody is asking is, why was Eduquity selected and why did it win the tender when it was banned by the BJP government in 2020? Eduquity is a fraudulent organization that did not deserve to be handling the NEET papers, yet it was selected in the tender over companies like TCS. Now, I don't like TCS, but this is how the system works, and Eduquity got it, despite a ban being on it, despite it not being allowed. How was the system manipulated? All of these are questions that should be answered on Times Now. Dharmendra Pradhan continues to escape any responsibility. And I want one last thing. Yesterday or day before that meeting where Rajnath Singh ji, Jyotiraditya Scindia ji, Dharmendra Pradhan ji sat in that meeting for the IAF, the three ministers sitting there are all Nepo. They have Nepo family in politics. It's nepotism that rules the roost, and that is what destroying India's education system, why 22 lakh students continue to suffer.
While I agree with the spirit of your argument, the Congress should be the last person, or entity to be talking about dynasty, nepotism. Why do you like they say, always score a self-goal? Without nepotism, everything you said was making sense. But you use nepotism so much that, look, I have to now lecture you on nepotism. Look around in the Congress party. Every other person is a product of dynasty, nepotism. So, let's not get carried away here. Please, Tehseen, 1 minute. Dr. Joshi, I'm coming to you, Tehseen, 1 minute. The others who haven't... Okay, Tehseen.
I don't want more. If everything that the Congress does, the BJP justifies from what Ashok Gehlot
did. I made that point.
It's just a justification.
No, 1 minute. I was only picking on the nepotism point, Tehseen. I said I agree with what you said in spirit. 1 minute. Don't take everything to your heart. Come on. I can't get...
Because
1
his
minute.
father was in Atalji's cabinet. He's a Nepo product of a failed system which includes Congress. No doubt about it.
Great.
And Modi ji has done nothing to change the system. The only
at
thing is
least
they
you
go back to Congress.
That, the system is rotten because of, the Congress presided over it for 6 decades. Dr. Joshi, you've been listening to this, question answer session and nodding your head intently. What is your assessment?
Well, my assessment as a doctor is that, who are these children, 22 lakh children who are studying for this exam? They are grinding it out 10 hours a day. and their future is in the hands of ideologically driven bootlicking sycophants, because they are prioritized over genuine academicians and genuine experts. So while Sanju did not answer that the paper leak through expert panel, how they are going to plug that kind of leak when they are calling in the IAF paper, or the Army Medical Corps going to set the paper? For once, I'm happy for one thing, that this is a public admission of guilt and incompetence of the education minister, of the home minister, because it is the home ministry who has failed to transport, the ED, CBI and whatnot is at the disposal of through various channels. Sometimes through the centers, there is failed electricity in a few of the centers when children are coming out, genuinely crying. Your problem kya hai, Pranesh? You don't know. You say it's just 800 children. इतने बड़े scale की exam होती है तो हो सकता है. You don't know who is going to turn out to be APJ Abdul Kalam. Who don't know who is going to be the next Bidhan Chand Roy. And who change the whole healthcare system for the country. So the problem is this, that when these kind of people who are grossly incompetent and dishonest are going to be deciding future of my children who want to become doctor, who are working
But
it
Dr.
out,
Joshi,
grinding it
one
out,
minute,
it's
Dr.
going to be
Joshi,
really
the problem, no, 1 minute. How do you know that someone will turn out to be dishonest? Who knew what Kejriwal ultimately became? Many were sold. So you can't, go by slogans and faces and, promises people make.
Hold
Mr.
on,
Kidwai,
sir.
Faizan bhai.
Good evening, sir. See, Pranesh, under Mr. Narendra Modi, every institution is seeing a systematic collapse. See, till yesterday, it was only as the opposition. The moment we used to question Melody Modi, we used to be called anti-national. Now the BJP ecosystem calls a 17-year-old Vedanta Shrivastava an anti-national for exposing CBSE, which works under the education ministry. See, Pranesh, there's one thing which we should all understand, that Mr. Narendra Modi wants to hide behind the credibility of Air Force now. The same Air Force where the Chief Marshal expresses frustration that no project is completed on time. We are 13 squadrons short, but now you want to use the credibility of the Air Force to hide your own incompetence. And Pranesh, let me just tell you that this argument is very puerile, that the ministry, the Sarkar of Narendra Modi wants to give us, that the leaks happen in transit only. Not at all, sir. If you see what the investigation of CBI has pointed out, it says usually the leaks originate at the source. That is the printing, where the printing happens. There's one individual who was arrested. His name is Shubham Khairnar. He used to get all these leaks from the printing press in Nasik and internal NTA sources. So NTA is the problem. The different sources are the problem. Even the Supreme Court has pulled up NTA right now. It said, where is your foolproof system? Provide us the names, and head should roll. This NTA should have been dismantled long back. But unfortunately, I think, Pranesh, there's first of all, I'm sure you and your viewers, everybody will agree to this, that a paper leak of such large magnitude, which operates pan-India, gets printing press accesses, distribution happens without any problems from the law enforcement agencies. It cannot happen without some high-level administrative and political patronage. We Samajwadis demand a high-level SIT to be formed, and judicial inquiry should happen. Nexus between paper mafia and education ministry, or whoever in Modi government is responsible. Heads should roll. People should be sent behind bars, because this is about the future of our youth, and we cannot let Narendra Modi government dismantle.
Faizan Kidwai, that you're caring about the future of the youth, but I'll get Sanju Verma to respond to what Tehseen has said. But before that, Krishant hasn't spoken. Let me get his opening remarks. Krishant ji, what do you make of this proposal to get the Indian Air Force in?
The BJP doesn't want to take the responsibility, and they want to shield themselves yet again on the armed forces. Who is responsible for this? And not just once, multiple times. And not just NEET. Even the UGC NET exam also was cancelled. And who is operating this? Who is running this? The NTA. And the government of India wants to continue to see NTA. Multiple times the NEET exam was investigated for paper leaks. It was cancelled. Once the UGC next exam also without any proper explanation, without any accountability, lakhs of students who appeared the exam, but the government of India immediately cancelled the examination. But where your answer? Even now, the BJP spokesperson wants to bulldoze, wants to say that nothing wrong has happened, and that is why Indian armed forces are used for this, Air Force is used for this. The Supreme Court has clearly said that the Union Public Service Commission, whenever there has been a pay leak, then why doesn't the NTA learn from it? I mean, earlier, states conducted the same examinations. We had MSET. But after MSET, you brought this alternative NEET, but you are failed to conduct these examinations.
Right.
And how can we afford where lakhs of students are suffering and preparing for these examinations and their hopes are crushed?
Let's get a response from Sanju Verma.
You know, Pranesh, I repeat at the cost of sounding repetitive. I started by saying there's a systemic problem. NTA needs an overhaul. Maybe just being under the aegis of the Cooperative Societies Act of 1860 is not enough. It needs to come under a parliamentary act for greater accountability. I also said that those calling Vedant Srivastav a Pakistani, that needs to be condemned. Vedant Srivastav has been a whistleblower of sorts. So has Sanju Verma answered the tough questions? Yes. Does
Ma'am,
more
1
need
minute. You answered the tough question that you said for yourself. मेरे tough questions तो जवाब ही नहीं दिए मैम आपने.
Pranesh ji, let me answer. यहाँ पर बैठकर तहसीन ने, he said Dharmendra Pradhan is a nepo kid. You know, this is like the pot calling the kettle black, or should I say the kettle calling the pot black. I mean, Rahul Gandhi, the son of Rajiv Gandhi, who is in turn the son of Indira Gandhi, who is in turn the daughter of Pandit Nehru, सालों साल दशकों तक, for 54 long years, the Darbari ecosystem ruled and reigned over India, and you have the audacity to talk about nepotism on national television. इतना दोगलापन और इतनी hypocrisy, तहसीन पूनावाला, आप लाते कहां से हो? But I will answer the moot point made by Piyush Joshi. I personally believe that yes, heads need to roll. Whether Abhishek Singh and Pradeep Joshi, the two most senior members of NTA, will resign or will be asked to go, as time unfolds, that question will be answered. But I know one thing for sure. Narendra Modi does not brook corruption. Narendra Modi does not brook incompetence. And Narendra Modi, because he believes in meritocracy, will ensure that heads roll. I'm saying this very responsibly on your show without trying to be dramatic, because I believe it will happen. And I want to end by saying one thing to Piyush Joshi. Piyush ने बहुत अच्छे points दिए. मोदी सरकार ने ये नहीं किया, वो नहीं किया, which you need to point out as you are in the opposition. But let me tell you also that Pranesh's audience needs to listen to this. Punjab Secondary Education Board failure rate 2023 57.2%, 2024 69.4%, 2025 78.3%, or 2026 provisional numbers 86.4%. Failure rate of students, not passing rate. So pehle look at your own stinky backyard before giving lectures on meritocracy to the Modi government. पहले अपना खुद का जो डेरा है पंजाब में वो तो संभालिए थोड़ा.
तहसीन.
The BJP spokesperson didn't answer why Eduquity was selected. So much for corruption. For meritocracy, under Dharmendra Pradhan ji, there have been over 20 paper leaks. In 2024, Dharmendra Pradhan ji presided over the NEET leaks. We were in times now. And no, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has not sacked him. But I have one last thing to tell the citizens of India. Why do you want to become a doctor like Dr. Piyush Joshi? If you work hard, you'll become a doctor. Your boss will be somebody like Nitish Kumar's son, Nishant Kumar, who himself needs medical intervention. That is the quality of education.
Who are you to, give certificates to people and, body shame or, whatever it is called? Why are you doing this? 1 minute. No, 1 minute. No, Tehsin, 1 minute. I object to this. 1 minute. 1 minute. Who are we, all of us, to decide whether Nishant Kumar or anyone or Rahul Gandhi, they need medical intervention? That is not right, please. Now, you can, Tehsin, calm down, Tehsin. You're not, you are reasonable most of the times. 1 minute. Listen to me, Tehseen, 1 minute. Listen to me, Tehseen, 1 minute. I'll give you a chance to respond. You cannot say this, that this person needs medical intervention.
Nishant Kumar doesn't deserve to be the health minister of Bihar.
Yeah, say
and
that.
Dharmendra Pradhan's daughter
1
studied
minute.
abroad.
No, 1 minute. You can say that this person does not deserve
Google
to be
the
the
man.
health minister, to be, party's president, LOP, prime minister, vice president, president. Say all of that. That is political criticism. But don't cross the line. Don't say that this person needs medical intervention. Please. Tehseen, please, let's be restrained in our commentary. Please. That's not right. Dr. Joshi, respond to what you heard from Sanju Verma.
Why we are criticizing the National Testing Agency is fairly simple. Because when we gave you the examinations to be conducted at the state level, you gave us Vyapam. And 52 odd people died during that investigation of Vyapam. And why I disagree with my dear friend Faizan Kidwai here, that SIT is going to get you nowhere if your intent is not right. Because we have seen what it has done to Vyapam. All the SITs were formed, CBI-driven inquiry is still ongoing in that same case. And everybody is out and some people are dead in Vyapam, and still Shivraj Singh Chauhan is now the agriculture minister who was the then chief minister. So, forget about all these things that SITs are going to get us anywhere. We need to genuinely care about the future of our children. And unless and until we do that, unless and until we design a foolproof system for conducting an examination, we cannot conduct an examination, safely in this country in 21st century. And we are talking about becoming a Vishwaguru, roaming around the world while people are literally calling the children Pakistani and whatnot at the behest of questioning the government.
That is not right.
We need to become better.
We should not throw those slurs at anyone. And, I told Tehseen also not to say what he said about anyone, not taking names again. But I want to focus more on the intent bit. You're saying that, Faizan Kidwai's suggestion of SIT is not going to work because there is no intent, which is why I told you, after your first comment, Dr. Joshi, that how do you know that this professor will sell his soul and, take money and sell the question paper? So you can't look at the face and gauge intent. Karan?
So firstly, at the outset, Pranesh, we cannot doubt the intent of this government. I think this government really has a sincere intent. They want to fix it. They failed. I agree. I said it right away that they have failed to implement certain measures of the Radhakrishna committee. But I think their intention, their heart is in the right place. They've fixed many of the legacy issues. You remember the days when we used to have those leakages? They ensured the DBT finally happened and those leakages were plugged in. They've solved many of the legacy issues, and I do trust this government to finally solve them, to do this heavyweight lifting. But yes, in the last 2 years, they have lagged behind in certain aspects. I'll point out one more. We need the NTA to be as strong as the UPSC. When we talk about the Union Public Service Commission, look at the kind of institutional strength they have. They have so many people on their rolls, permanently working for them. In NTA, you have 22 employees on deputation, 38 contractual staffers, 138 outsourced workers. Why do you have that? That is the kind of overhaul we need. And I want the opposition to come up with constructive suggestions. When we derail the debate talking about training our guns on Modi as Faizan Kidwai ji was doing, I don't think that really helps. You can come up with the constructive suggestions, or taking it on the Nepo tangent that my friend Tehseen took it, or for that matter, Dr. Piyush ji, when he said these are boot-licking ideologues. I don't think there's any ideology in this. I think there is malgovernance that has crept in, and please give remedial measures to fix it. That's what we need to do.
Sanju Verma, you have the last word, then we move on.
My last word is this, Pranesh. I've already said what needs to be done systemically, but I want your audience to listen to this, because Rahul Gandhi says that the vendor involved in the re-evaluation of CBSE answer sheets is a company called Poem EduTech Private Limited. Rahul Gandhi fails to mention that Bengaluru City University in Karnataka signed an MOU with this so-called tarnished vendor in November 2025. Rahul Gandhi fails to mention that Shri Maharishi Valmiki University in Raichur signed an agreement in March 2024 under Siddaramaiah with this so-called tainted vendor which Rahul Gandhi wants to be taken down. Rahul Gandhi fails to mention that Telangana...
No, I get your point. I get your point that the Congress also, the Congress government in Telangana used the same contractor. So, there is that face of going. But I just hope better sense prevails. let's spare the IAF for the things that it needs to do, and not reduce them to this courier service that is the proposal. So let's move on. I thank some of you for joining us on debate number 1. Viewers, let's quickly shift attention.